Good afternoon. Happy Friday. Can you believe it's Friday? I feel like this week went super fast for me. I don't know. Did this week go fast for you? But yeah, it's Friday. I had a chiropractor appointment this morning, so I'm feeling super great. And it's the weekend, right? I'm a couple hours away from the weekend, and so good. Anybody have fun plans for the weekend? At least here in Minnesota, it's supposed to be starting to warm up again, so I'm really looking forward to that. And I don't know, just excited that it's spring and it's getting warmer, and yeah, it's just super great, right? We didn't get as much snow this week in Minnesota as I was expecting, so that was super nice that it was actually, you know, warm enough that it melted fast and we didn't get as much and it didn't stick. At least not like 2 years ago. 2 years ago, we got a giant blizzard, and it was the same weekend as a choir concert that Gabe and I had. And our choir, which has like 80 people in it, had like 50 people in the audience. Like there was like nobody there. So it was like just crazy how there was like nobody there that weekend because it was just a blizzard. It was like, I don't know, 2 feet of snow or something crazy. So anyway, enough about me rambling about the weather. Like, seriously? Come on, Andrea. But my topic for today, my title is The Secret About Change That Lasts. And I'm super excited to share with you some of my ideas about this. So if you think about change, if it's a big change or a small change, no matter what kind of change it is, what does it take to keep that change, right? So let's just think a little bit. Like if you're trying to make a habit change, like say reading books. So for a long time, a really long time, I read lots of books. High school, I was like a bookaholic. I read so much. And then in college, I had to read a lot of textbooks, more even than in high school. And so I kind of got out of the habit of reading books, at least during college. And then shortly after college, I was very overwhelmed with my first job out of college. So I wasn't reading books as much then either, right? But about, I would say, a year and a half ago or so, I started to want to fix that. Not in the sense that it was inherently bad, because it's not bad to not read, but in my mind, I really missed it. And so I wanted to get back in the habit of reading books, and I wanted to keep that change, and I wanted it to be a change that would last, right? So one thing that I did is I found somebody to hold me accountable, right? That could be something simple like having a friend say, hey, you should ask me occasionally what I'm reading about, right? You should just ask me what book I'm reading, or ask me to share with you tips regularly about what I'm reading, so that I will regularly be reading and that I know that you're going to be asking me about it, so that will help hold me accountable to keeping that change, right? So that's one example of something that helps change last, is having accountability. But another thing that helps promote change that lasts is consistency. So if you think about it, if I only opened my book once a week, would it be on the top of my mind? Would it be fresh in my memory to be reading it if I only picked it up once a week? Probably not, right? But if I read just a couple pages a day, even if I didn't have very much time, even if I just read like 2 pages or something like that, and it depends on the book, right? Like some books you really have to read like a chapter, or some, like if it's nonfiction, there's like usually sections of chapters too, so you could just read one section or something like that. So anyway, it depends on the book, right? But if we're going with the book example, I could read just a couple pages a day, right? As for consistency. Or if I have more time that day, I could read a longer section or more of it, right? But having that consistency helps my brain remember, oh, when I forget, it's easier to remember that I forgot because it's something that I have regularly built into my schedule and to my brain. And something really cool about the brain is that, and it also hard about the brain. So it's a cool and a hard thing about the brain, really, because when you are building pathways, there are pathways in your brain. They're like kind of like these little trenches, right? So good things and bad things can build pathways in your brain. And really, what you do daily reinforces the pathways you have in your brain. What you think, what you do. So like if I have a thought of, oh, I'm such a bad person for forgetting to read my book yesterday. Am I going to be more likely to read it today or more likely not to? Maybe reading out of guilt, right? But that's not the reason I want to be reading, right? I want to have a positive association with my desire to read books. So I'm going to tell myself things that are positive and have that trench pathway built so that I'm more likely to A, remember to do what I want to do, which is read books, and B, have a positive association with it so that when I do remember it, it's something that brings me joy. It's something that brings me positive emotions, positive thoughts, not just about myself, but about the books I'm reading and all sorts of things, right? So, consistency, accountability, and my final thing is moving forward, right? So even if you fall off the train, take the steps forward because we can't truly stand still in any sort of thing that we want to change. If you think about it, if you are standing still, you're really actually falling backwards. So hear me out on this. So what I mean by that is if you want something, let's say, I don't know, I'll give a different example. I know a lot of people who like to try to lose weight, right? If you're trying to lose weight, maintaining weight also requires work, right? So if you're just trying to maintain weight, you still have to do something. You still have to enact some sort of change in order to maintain. If you don't think about it, if you don't do very much, chances are you're going to fall backwards and either gain weight or not really move forward in that change, right? So standing still really isn't usually standing still. Standing still is usually falling backwards, whether it's a big step backwards or a little step, right? Same thing with moving forwards, though. Standing still isn't really standing still, but moving forward is always moving forward. And if you moved forward, let's say you had a change, whatever it is, if it's a fun one like reading books, or if it's something for your health, like the way you eat, or a certain pain you're trying to manage, or a certain thing you're trying to eliminate from your diet or add to your diet, whatever it is, right? Or whether it's something about relationships, the sky's the limit as far as what change you're trying to accomplish, right? But if you are trying to move forward and you just take a tiny step forward, 1%, say, 1% better than the day before, you're going to, over the course of a whole year, you're going to have, 38% better, I think is how the math works on that. Or if you read one book a month, even if it was a small amount, like one book a month, that's 12 books more than you read the month before. So I've learned and I've grown and maybe had fun if it was a fun book, right? Like a fiction book. So my point is that change that will last requires consistency, accountability, and that effort of taking the steps, even if they're small, when you fall off the train. Because a step forward is always a step forward. A step backward is obviously a step backward. But standing still is not truly standing still. Standing still is actually moving backward. So does that make sense to you guys? What do you guys think about that? I'm super curious to see what you think. And I see quite a few people popping in here. So hi, there's so many people. But I'm going to go back and see if there's any questions because I saw a couple comments. I'm going to see if there's any questions that you have or thoughts. What do you think about the things that I just shared, especially the whole moving forward, moving backward still is not truly standing still, right? Carrie, hey friend. Oh, hi. It's so good to see you. I love it when I see your face pop up on my Facebook or my wherever, right? My social media. Your face makes me smile. See a lot of friends popping in here. That's awesome. Carrie. Oh, Carrie again. I love reading books just because, but stopped when I had my son. Yeah, so usually there's some sort of reason why we stopped. And it's not that that reason is bad, and it's not that reading books inherently is better than not reading books, although I personally believe that because I want to be growing always. And to grow, a large part of growing is to be reading. So the books thing is kind of a side note. It is just an example. But you're right. Like usually, whatever change it is that you're trying to accomplish, there's some reason, if you were doing it before, why you stopped. And it's not that that's bad, and it's not that there's different seasons of life, but if you want to enact change that's actually going to last, don't stand still. Make those little baby steps, right? Make that change. Find somebody to hold you accountable. I'd be happy to be that person, right? Like for certain, especially for certain things, like things that I've been talking about a lot, right? But even just being accountable to asking you, like, hey, how's X, Y, or Z going, right? I love doing that for my friends. And then so I love that. Carrie says, that makes a lot of sense to me. Don't stand still. Yeah, see? I know, I love it too. So I am going to pop out of here, but I hope you have the best day and the best weekend, and I'd love to hear what you're up to this weekend if you care to share that. And if you're watching the replay, you should comment #replay. Love to see that you are checking in and connect with you. So bye for now.